Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an SP Patrons video that I'm making today for Jacob as part of their custom monthly music review. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on the screen. It is by Daughters. They're named Daughters, and the song is titled Long Road No Turn. So without further ado, we're going to listen through this from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go. I mean, it's so thoroughly chaotic off the bat, isn't it? I mean, it's the vocal style is very desperate. There's a lot of tension and drama to it. I think as well we've got the situation going on with like these kind of tritones that are going on with these sort of sections on the side there. Are those synths? The drums are chaotic. I mean, it's just nice to have that space there, you know? And things are just descending with the harmony. I mean, like, despite the complete insanity going on here, which is interesting considering the video, it's really well mixed. I'm really happy with the studio production. To get a track to sound good despite how sort of obnoxious the various ingredients are it's impressive, you know? These are the words to somebody else's song. I mean, what are they doing? Are they getting modulation with the synth or guitar parts? I mean, like, I feel like anything I can say is something that'll just be instantly buried by the music. It's one of those tracks which shows their cards very intently, like there is no glossing over it. It's like a horror film for 5 minutes. This music is writhing like worms inside your head. There's like some diminished or sort of what's the other one? augmented chords that are going on here, probably diminished. The tritones, just these sort of almost demonic melodic passages here, clashing between the sides of the stereo field. It's vicious. It's thoroughly uncomfortable. How is it going to end? And it just buzzes off to the side of the stereo field, never to return. Jacob, you've pulled a track out of me that's a bit of a doozy. This is a bit of a doozy, this track, I'm not going to lie. So we got the lyrics here for Long Road No Turns. Everybody climbs up high, then falls real far. A little is all it takes, you know. I'm assuming this is talking about the sort of mental instability or the instability of their life, you know? I don't know what to say when people come apart. The road is long, the road is dark, and these are just the words to somebody else's song. Yeah, because I think a lot of people, can relate to that, you know? I think a lot of people are just... Everyone gets in line and makes mistakes. A little is all it takes. Just being unsure to what to do to help the person when they're struggling, you know? Our sort of very fragile brain chemistry, the way that we cope with things is we're basically very difficult to look after, and we can get crushed by it, you know. Remember, those are just the words of somebody else's song, so don't play along or play a part. Don't look at me under the weight of your shoulder crossed. These are just the words to somebody else's song. May please your heart to see some shackled wrists and throat naked as a day they are born. It's well, it ain't funny how it works. Someone's always got it worse. They hit the ground harder than you. My goodness, this is probably one of the heaviest songs I've heard in my life. Well, actually, no, that's a lie. Now that I think about it, I'm incorrect. It's not one of the heaviest. Not overall, but it's definitely some pretty intense stuff. Because this is the conclusion to my review of this track by Daughters, titled Long Road No Turns. What do I think this track is about? It's about people who have everyone's struggling to exist as suffering, right? And some people just fall harder than you, and the dark road that you're on, basically someone's got it worse, and it's about either playing along or not knowing what to say or what to do to help fix them, realizing that it can potentially be meaningless to try and assist them in getting out of that situation in the first place just because they're too far gone. And it's basically a sense of like equalizing everyone in the sense that everybody's fallen down, and some are just worse off than you are after the fall of trying to get out of life and come out of the womb and then ending up back in the soil. It's pretty ferocious storytelling. There's a clear existential dread to what's going on with the singer, what they're doing. I love the performance of it. It sounds very authentic, very kind of strangulated, very kind of dramatic and tense, and like it sounds awful, if I'm honest. It's very, very overwhelming. And when I hear someone sing like this, it makes me think, you know, what have they gone through in their own life to really come to a point where this is what their life is? How are they telling us a story? You know, how authentic is it for them? Have they been in this position before? Has someone else that they've known been in that position? It's really interesting to hear them out. I think that, you know, outside of that, really, we just have someone who had good sort of head and chest voice, good vocal technique, but also knew how to really sell it in a way that made sense with the story there, and that kind of drama, that tension, that sort of insanity, that manic nature of it was encapsulated within the performance there on the mic. So I think that those elements are really well connected. The track is about 5 minutes long, and it encompasses a lot of what is required to give the story a wider purpose and more sort of real estate to sort of swim and develop in. Most of it was in the first few minutes, you know, slamming straight in with those synth parts there, maybe the bass and the drums, etc. The drums were just ferocious with 8th and 16th note grooves throughout. We had occasional pauses where things stopped for another stanza, but outside of that, we simply had just you know, like we had all these different sort of tom fills and regimens and stuff to really just keep the pace moving at different like dynamic ranges, and it's wonderful. I think that it was performed incredibly well. There didn't seem to be known out of place, and the percussion, the grooves were engaging throughout. The synth parts going between the place with the tritone harmonies and stuff like that were just very, very overwhelming and very kind of claustrophobic. And it almost made you feel as if you were stuck in a cave with that person. It was almost a little bit too much. And I think that was the entire point of the motif as well, to not resolve to a natural major or minor, but to really sort of like overwhelm the listener, get them to state where they can't cope or can't kind of like, they feel like they're in the situation that the viewer is describing. They're meant to be a part of that world that they're creating there, where they are like lost like that, hard on the floor, you know, hitting the ground like that. I think that it's very believable. Very, very believable performance there in terms as to how the theme interacts with the vocals and the singing and all that. I think that's really well done. The structure of the track was more sort of through composed than anything like that. We had like a gradual descension into madness there, as if we were actually falling down there with the harmonies and the chords and the modulations between those various harmonic transitions there. And we may have had sort of more kind of oscillation and further synth and phase work going on as we went through, just to further escalate it. But then like at the end, it just, you know, it has those interesting sort of tones there. And it's like almost like it's a modulated guitar or something like that, you know, like they have an interesting modulated tone there to it, where it sounds overly filtered, but like it's like the thoughts writhing in your head again, like worms and wiggling about. The motif, you know, in addition to that, like with the bass line being the foundation of the song, kind of like rolling around and kind of seething in the sub layers, it's really creative. And I haven't really heard songs like this before, but I think it mirrors the story well. The motif is depressing and antagonistic, and it really just wants to get in your head and not leave you alone. It wants to scar you. That's what this motif track wants to do. It wants to make you relate, you know, to what's going on. I think that's a wonderful thing, a really good choice there, although it is uncomfortable to hear. But yeah, I think there was a great connection between the various elements in the track, and I'm really happy with what I've heard so far. And in addition to that, the recording, mixing, and mastering, the studio production of the track was sensational. I had a great time listening through the vocals, for example, despite, you know, how they sounded, were recorded well. There was a great presence to them in the mix. You know, they had an airiness to them, both in the airiness of like the reverb sense and the airiness in the spooky sense. The synth guitars, phasing pads, etc. were in that mid-range there and chimed backwards and forwards, panning, automation going between each other to kind of switch between and make it really sound of like it was like rolling around like rambunctious in there, kind of mutated and feral. The bass and the low end just kind of balancing it out and like filling up that part of the frequency spectrum, and then the drums kind of notching themselves in various parts without sort of tapping into the listener or stabbing the track too much. There was sharp, really sharp textures there that were encapsulated well within the dynamic range of the track, with it not being too overly compressed. The leveling in general of this song was awesome. I'm really happy with the audio studio production and quality of it. In addition to that, I think just the in general, the the limiting compression, should I say, it was nice and loud without pumping. It needed to be bombastic and in your face, and they nailed that to a T. But it did get quiet near the end, as if we came to a conclusion, a realization of where we were at. It emptied out, and I think that was really smart. And all in all, despite how I feel about this track now as opposed to listening to it and just in general, this is a positive review for Daughters with their track Long Road No Turns. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show them some love via their various social medias and their YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe. And please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as either help more than ever thought of crazy stuff going on in the world, and I'll catch you in the next SP Patrons video. Spiderhands out.